Party people, what is up? It's your friend Tazhiana Gordon here with a process video for the Hip Kit Club design team using the weekly recipe. And so the recipe this week included using 2 photos, using some sort of chipboard, 3 pattern papers, and my worst nemesis, stitching. You guys, when I saw the assignment and I saw that it included stitching in the weekly recipe, my stomach fell into my ankles because my sewing machine and I, we're not even frenemies. We are mortal enemies. There's nothing friendly about my relationship with my sewing machine, but for the sake of the assignment and for the sake of trying new things, I decided to do it. So I'm using the October hip kits, which are full of fall sentiments. The October hip kits have marigold in them. It has Jen Hadfield, The Avenue. It has Simple Stories, Cozy Days. And so I picked out 3 pattern papers, a yellow, a gray, and a blue. And this is what I'm going to use for my color scheme. And this is my favorite thing to do when I have to use pattern paper is rip it into strips. I'm not very good at using giant swatches of pattern paper on my layouts. For some reason, my eyeballs don't like it. And so I struggle a lot with that. But ripping pattern paper into strips, I can do that. So the first thing I did was cut them into 1.5-inch strips. And then because this is me we're talking about and Tazhiana does not believe in straight edges, I then just took my ruler and used it to help me neatly rip off a scrap of paper to create a distressed edge. This is one of my favorite ways to create a distressed edge, is to just use a ruler. And so by trimming it with my paper trimmer, I had the width of the strips that I wanted, and then I just used my ruler to help me tear it up. And now I'm just positioning them on a piece of white cardstock. This is white basil. It's the cardstock that's included in the cardstock kit, but any white cardstock would work because I'm not doing any mixed media here because the stitching was stressful enough. And so I decided not to stress myself out even more by adding water and a bunch of other stuff to the background. So I'm just figuring out how I wanted to lay. And initially I was just going to do a solid block of paper. And when I was putting them down, I started putting a few of them offset, so it's not a straight line like that. And I really liked how jumbled they look. So what I did was just use a tiny, tiny bit of adhesive, stick them down to my paper, and then run them through my sewing machine. And I held my breath the entire time I was doing this. I had black thread in my sewing machine because I thought the texture of the black thread would look really good against those. And I just did a simple straight line stitch. We didn't even try to get fancy with a zigzag or anything here. Like I said, my sewing machine and I are mortal enemies. And it actually cooperated for me to do all 6 of these lines. Nothing happened. The threads didn't break. Actually, as soon as I finished the last stitch, you guys are going to laugh, my bobbin ran out of thread and my husband and I breathed a collective sigh of relief that I made it through this entire project without any mishaps. The fact that my bobbin thread ran out on the very last stitch means that the universe was smiling on me. But when I had to work on this project, it was Tazhiana has to stitch. Let's be kind. All right. So we're done. We got our stitching. We have two of the recipe. Wow. 2 pieces of the recipe already on the layout, which is the 3 pattern papers and the stitching. Here we're knocking out chipboard. The kit includes these Simple Stories Cozy Days frames, and they're so fun. They're a little large. They're definitely bigger than a 3x4 photo. They're a little large, but I'm making it work on this layout. Now, I'm sorry about the glare. I did not realize that my lights were pointing directly at the photos while I was scrapbooking. So you can't really see the photos as I'm working, but you can see what I'm making, and I think that's good enough, hopefully. So I'm working on a layout of some photos of my sister and my brother-in-law and my darling nephew, Yummy Yummy Noah. You guys know Noah is my favorite little person to scrapbook, and so I'm convinced my sister had a baby just so I could have new scrapbooking material. This is what I tell her. She doesn't believe me, but she'll catch up eventually. So I'm using the die cut kit from the Jen Hadfield The Avenue pack. This came in the embellishment kit. This is not in the main kit. And it's a die cut pack full of flowers. And it's my favorite thing. I love flowers. Floral embellishments are my favorite thing to use. So I'm pulling out all these flowers. And I'm sticking to my color scheme with the green, blue, gray. So I'm pulling out all the floral bits that are mostly yellow and blue. And I realized that a lot of these die cut pieces are mirror images of each other. And I don't like hiding die cuts. I don't like wasting them. So I just took my scissor and I hacked a bunch of them to bits. I cut them in half. Like I said, a lot of them are mirror images of each other. You see that one up top, it's 4 yellow sprigs. So I cut them in half. And then all of a sudden now I have 2 die cuts. And this is a really easy way to work on your design is by putting the same pieces on the top and the bottom of your layout. It takes like all of the design theory out of the, like it just takes it out. You don't have to second guess it. The other thing I did was I went in, and one of the pattern papers were a sheet of cut apart tags, and I cut apart 2 tags, purposefully picking 2 tags that had a lot of pink on them because I knew that the die cuts that I wanted to use and the embellishments I wanted to use were going to have a fair amount of pink, and I wanted to include the pink somewhere since there wasn't pink anywhere else in the pattern papers that I chose. So I just chose to use those pink tags. Now these pictures we're taking in summer, and I'm using fall die cuts to document it. But I'm just using sentiments about getting cozy and being together, which is kind of universal for any time of year. So it works out just fine. So I'm adding, again, some of those floral sprigs to the top of the floral cluster that I'm building, adding some stuff to the bottom. I'm just trying things on. This is typically how I make things. I cut things up and I stick them down. I try them on. I audition them. If it feels good, I stick it. If it doesn't feel good, I move it. Like I play around with this yellow floral sprig for a few places before I finally figure out where I want to put it. And once I find out where I want to put it, I just nestle right in. I'm gluing it down with some Scotch tacky glue in my fine line bottle. And again, just sticking things down where they feel good. I like to use a mix of a tape runner for like larger die cuts and the wet glue for the smaller die cuts. And I'm pretty much using the embellishment kit primarily for this page. So the papers are from the main kits, but a lot of the embellishments I use are from the embellishment kits. Now you could do the same layout with the ephemera from the main kit, but I just really like these huge florals. So that's what I gravitated towards. And it also helped me, repeat that color scheme that I wanted to use of the blue and the yellow with that hint of pink that I popped in. It just felt like it matched really well with the photos. My sister's wearing blue, Noah's wearing blue, they're on a blue blanket, there's the green. I figured for an outdoorsy style layout, like this color scheme made sense. So now I'm just sticking more and more bits and pieces. Now, the October kits are still available on the Hip Kit Club design site. They've just released the sneak peeks of what the November kits look like, which are Christmas themed. And if you know anything about me, I'm all about Christmas themed stuff. And the Christmas kits are full of exclusives. So I'm very excited to get my greedy little hands on it. But back to the layouts, I pulled out these gold puffy stickers. I love anything shiny and metallic. So I pulled out these gold puffy stickers, and I'm adding them around my layout. And I only added 2. And after I went back, I'm looking at this now and I'm like, Tazhiana, why didn't you add a 3rd one? You guys know how I am about my rule of 3s. But I added 3 of those puffy stickers, and then off camera, I just stuck down the whole cluster to my page. So I actually built this entire cluster as a free moving element because it's just easier for me to anchor things if it's not attached to the page. And then I used my wet glue to stick the whole thing down. For my title, this is a puffy sticker from the Cozy Days Puffy Sticker Pack. Again, this is in the embellishment kit, not the main kit. So if you get any of the add-ons, I find that with the add-ons, they just help your supplies go further. So I almost never run out of paper. I always run out of embellishment. So having the embellishment add-on just means that my supplies go a little bit further when it comes to documenting. Now we do the thing that we do in every single layout. It wouldn't be a Tashi layout if we didn't do the thing. I cut off a tiny bit of paper. And the other day I was flipping through my layouts and looking at all the shapes that I do, and all the shapes are completely different. Like they're never the same when I do the little thing. But pretty much what I do is I take my scissor and I randomly hack off a bit of the white cardstock off the bottom of my layout, whatever feels good that day. And then I repeat a pattern that I've already used in my page. For this particular layout, I decided to repeat that yellow gingham. Is it gingham? Is it plaid? Is it gingham? I'm going to go with gingham. I decided to repeat that yellow gingham that I used in my pattern paper strips because it was the furthest from the bottom since it was the first pattern that I used. I thought it just made sense for it to be the last pattern that I used because it's kind of repeating the pattern that I started from the top. And then all I do here is I realize there's a bit of an empty space right under the picture of Brian and Noah, and it doesn't feel anchored, like it just feels exposed and naked. So I go back in that die cut pack and pull out some of the smaller, see I'm showing you where it's bothering me. So I go back in the die cut pack and pull out some of the smaller florals, and I end up going with a mint green and a pink floral because there weren't any yellow ones in there. And again, I don't mind the pink being there because there's pink in other places in the layout, but I add a mint green and a pink floral right there, and then I go into the sticker book from the Jen Hadfield line and pull out a few phrase stickers because I like having words on my layout. So I add a sticker that says thankful for you, a sticker that says love, and then I add a subtitle that says home is where I'm with you right underneath my title of Gather Together. And that finishes the layout. I am so happy with how this came out. I love the way the October kits worked up for this really fun page of Noah and his parents. And it was just a really fun layout to put together. You know, guys, I really gotta say, I like these Friday recipe challenges. Every time I look at the recipe, I'm like, this is going to be terrible. And then I get to work and it's actually really fun. So I hope it inspires you to give the recipe of photos, chipboard, pattern paper, and stitching a try. And I will see you for my next time on the YouTube channel. So till next time, keep it crafty and have the very best day, and I'll see you around. Bye, friends.